Think about the first time you watched Daniel LaRusso hold that crane stance against a blue sky and felt your entire chest tighten before he ever threw the kick. Here is what almost nobody knows. The man who played Mr. Miyagi was almost never cast at all. The studio had a policy against hiring comedians for serious roles, and Pat Morita had to fight his way past two legendary Japanese actors just to get in the room. Everything in this video traces back to that one fight. Let's go. Number 10. Toshiro Mifune auditioned first. He was deemed too serious. The studio originally wanted Mr. Miyagi to be played by Toshiro Mifune, the legendary star of Rashomon, Seven Samurai, and The Hidden Fortress. Mifune actually gave a great audition, but his performance was deemed a bit too serious for the warmth the role required. It also proved unworkable that Mifune did not speak English. Producers then considered Japanese actor Mako Iwamatsu, but he was already committed to filming Conan the Barbarian instead. One of the most iconic father figure performances in American cinema almost belonged to a samurai legend who couldn't speak the language his own character needed to teach in. And even after both of those men were gone, the studio still wasn't ready to say yes to the man who finally got the part. Number 9. The producer refused to cast him. A policy stood in his way. Producer Jerry Weintraub was wholly against casting Pat Morita for the role. Known then more for his comedic roles, Morita's biggest credit up until that point had been playing Matsuo Arnold Takahashi on Happy Days. There was reportedly an actual policy in place that prohibited comedians specifically from being cast in serious, dramatic roles. Morita was ultimately given the part only because he simply delivered the best reading out of everyone who auditioned, overturning both Weintraub's hesitation and a studio rule that had been working directly against him from the very beginning. Stay with us. Because the man finally cast had a much bigger fight on the other side of the camera, watching his director go to war with the studio over a single scene. Number 8. The studio wanted the drunk scene cut. The director refused. The studio wanted to drop the drunk Miyagi scene, feeling it slowed the pace down. The scene shows a drunken Mr. Miyagi lamenting the death of his wife on what would have been their wedding anniversary. Director John G. Avildsen was adamant about keeping it and fought tooth and nail with the studio for it to remain, eventually winning that argument outright. Avildsen later said in an interview that this exact scene is what ultimately landed Pat Morita his Academy Award nomination, a single moment of genuine grief the studio had wanted erased entirely for the sake of pacing. Number 7. Almost every young star in Hollywood turned down. Daniel first. A number of actors were considered for the part of Daniel, including Sean Penn, Robert Downey Jr., Charlie Sheen, John Cryer, Emilio Estevez, Nicolas Cage, Anthony Edwards, C. Thomas Howell, Ozell, Tom Cruise, Eric Stoltz, and D.B. Sweeney. The role was even allegedly offered to Sean Penn, who turned it down because he was trying for more adult roles. Ralph Macchio was ultimately cast on the strength of his performance as Johnny Cade in The Outsiders, released the year before. Penn later said in an interview that he believed Macchio was one of the greatest living actors, a generous compliment from the man who had passed. Number 6. Macchio was hurt. The Cobra Kai actors were hurt worse. During the fight outside the Halloween party, Ralph Macchio sustained a real injury after being kicked too hard, according to the film's own DVD commentary. But the Cobra Kai actors fared considerably worse. Several complained that Pat Morita's stunt double, real-life martial artist Fumio Demura, kept hitting too hard during their scenes together. Stunt performer Pat E. Johnson even slammed his knee directly into another performer's nose during a groin kick sequence, drawing real blood that couldn't be used on camera at all. The villains absorbed nearly every genuine injury on set, while the hero walked away with the lighter share of the damage. Before we keep going, quick question. How old were you the first time you watched this film? And did you know any of this real history behind it? Drop both answers in the comments. Number 5. The headband was never in the script. It was an accident. According to Ralph Macchio himself, Pat Morita just happened to have a lotus flower print handkerchief in his pocket, and after using it to pat his own brow, decided to simply put it on Ralph's head instead. There was no mention of any headband in the original script. That single improvised gesture, born from nothing more than a sweaty afternoon on set, became one of the most recognized pop culture accessories of the entire decade, instantly recognizable to anyone who has ever picked up a karate gi since. Number 4. He was 22. The cast genuinely didn't believe him. Ralph Macchio was 22 years old during filming. Some of the cast did not believe him when they asked about his actual age. Pat Morita himself was 52 at the time of release, while Elizabeth Shue was only 20 years old when she played Daniel's love interest, Ollie. An entire generation of teenagers grew up believing they were watching genuine high schoolers navigate real adolescent conflict, when in fact the cast spanned decades in actual age, expertly disguised by careful casting and a script nobody questioned at the time. Number 3. Coca-Cola demanded product placement. Macchio quietly fought back. Coca-Cola mandated that several of its products be displayed on screen throughout the film. Ralph Macchio objected to this, especially the breakfast scene that required him to say Minute Maid, the orange juice brand owned by Coca-Cola at the time. Macchio later revealed that in one scene he deliberately shrouded a Sprite can logo with his own hand in quiet protest. When told to reshoot the scene, he exposed the logo for as little screen time as he possibly could get away with. A small private rebellion against corporate sponsorship buried inside one of the most beloved family films of the decade. Number 2. A real bullied teenager inspired the entire story. According to L.A. Weekly, the script was loosely based on a news story producer Jerry Weintraub had seen on a local TV news station. A report about a boy who was bullied after school every single day and enlisted in karate lessons to defend himself, eventually earning his black belt. Screenwriter Robert Mark Kamen drew on his own life as well. At 17, he had been assaulted by a gang of bullies himself and began studying martial arts afterward. The story your entire childhood was built around began as 2 separate true accounts of real, ordinary teenagers fighting back. Number 1. He was nominated for an Oscar for a role the studio tried to block twice. Pat Morita went on to earn Oscar and Golden Globe nominations for his performance, a role he very nearly never received at all. Toshiro Mifune had auditioned first and lost the part for being too serious. Mako Iwamatsu was considered next, already committed elsewhere. The studio actively opposed Morita's casting because of an unwritten policy against comedians. And once he finally won the role, executives tried to cut the single scene that would later define his entire Academy Award case. Every obstacle the film placed in front of Mr. Miyagi's own actor became, in the end, the exact reason audiences fell in love with him. The man nobody wanted gave a performance nobody has forgotten. That is the Karate Kid. Tell us in the comments, did you know any of this before today? Subscribe and hit the bell. We are here every week. See you in the next one.